Tom and Jack for Cultaholic. How was your weekend, Jack?
It was good, Tom. It was good. How was yours? Still there.
Still funny.
Still good. It's still good. It's still as good as it was.
The battery's gone a little bit. Might have used it over the last week. Oi, less of that. Come on, get to work. This has been basically all I've done since the last news video.
Oh, yeah, fair.
That and looked up the wrestling news. WWE says an AEW match set the business back 30 years. Also, we have details on plans for AEW Double or Nothing and some major plans for SmackDown Superstars, which we'll tell you about shortly. So we are recovering from the big Wednesday night match on Dynamite. Are we allowed to say what it's called, or do we get demonetized if we do, Jack?
Oh, I've got no idea.
I've got no
idea at all.
I'm not sure whether we can or not. Should we call it mistletoe and wine? So,
the mistletoe and wine. The multi-man enclosed roofed cage match to the finish.
AEW mistletoe and wine went down on Wednesday, and a lot of conversation about the finish, but some conversation from within WWE about the match in general. And Dave Shearer from PW Insider has given us an update on this, hasn't he, Jack?
He said, right, I've heard, this is Dave Shearer, I have heard people from management, I've heard from people in management, and they hated it. One person told me, and I quote, "That just set the business back 30 years. He goes on to say, did it? I don't know, because I was told that the people in charge weren't happy. But on the other hand, I talked to the wrestlers that loved it because they would love to do something like that themselves. So, from the sounds of it, yeah, it really split opinion backstage in WWE. A lot of the roster thought it was fantastic. Whereas people in management, and he's kept very vague when he said that, one in particular thought it set the business back 30 years, which is a bit of a strange one for me.
It was a throwback, because it was a better throwback than what they did on Friday, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't a perfect match. There were problems. The bump, yes, indeed, they shouldn't have called it concrete. Absolutely, that made it all look very, 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 very weird. Having said that, I have just cashed my Tony Khan check. So, yeah, I think that they did set it back 30 years, but in a good way, because it was a throwback. It had that old school feel to it. I thought it was a strong match. I like how The Office has in WWE dislikes it, and I like how the majority of wrestlers who watched it enjoyed it. And went I want to get in the mix with something like that. I like how it's divided people.
I find it a bit of a curious criticism as well, whoever specifically said it set the business back 30 years, because the big criticism was, of course, that the bump looked too safe. And while few people were saying, oh, it should have been a worse bump, but, most people were saying basically the production made the bump look too safe. Everyone's agreeing that Jericho should have been safe, really, on the bump, but they should have made it look better or, had a wider angle on the camera. And that, to me, that criticism seems to suggest that it was almost, too modern in its... I don't know.
Also, I don't know whether 30 years is as far back as they think it is, because 30 years from now is 1991. Wrestling was good in 91. It was the golden era. Like, everybody was making money in 91. So surely, because I get that a lot. I often think, 30 years ago in the 70s, and you have to go, oh, wait, no. I'm much older than that. What a problem.
Sad, isn't it?
It is a little bit. Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio giving us an update on plans for Double or Nothing, which is coming up at the end of May. And we've talked on the news videos about how there are plans for like a full crowd there. And with that kind of comes its own unique problems. We'll get to some of those in just a moment. But from Dave Meltzer, in terms of how Double or Nothing and the taping schedule is going to play out, he says the 28th is a Friday and it's a lot easier than a Wednesday as far as drawing. So the plan is they're going to tape AEW Dynamite on the 28th. They're doing a 4-hour taping set on the 28th. So there's going to be, starting at 8 p.m, they're going to run till midnight, because Dynamite's going to be from 10 till midnight, and they're going to do Elevation from 8 until 10 in front of a live crowd, which I don't believe they've done yet, have they?
I don't think so. I love that quote from Meltzer, because it's so Dave Meltzer, right? Anyone else would have said, yeah, they're going to do a 4-hour taping slot, right? The first 2 hours are going to be Elevation. The second 2 hours are going to be Dynamite. Instead, Meltzer says they're going to start at 8 p.m. and run until midnight, because Dynamite's going to be 10 till midnight, and then they're going to do Elevation in front of But that's backwards, Dave.
If you ask Dave what time it is, he'll tell you how to retrofit a watch. He's very Dave like that. So that's the 28th, Dave goes on. The 29th, they're going to do a fan fest.
Right.
So for people who are travelling to the show, they're going to get a full-on weekend of wrestling, because then on the 30th, on the Sunday, you've got Double or Nothing. So, and as I say, this comes with its own unique set of problems, because according to Dave, they're going to be taping Elevation and Dynamite 2 days before Double or Nothing. So unless they're doing like a Friday Dynamite live, does this mean that they're taping an episode of Dynamite? Are they taping the post Double or Nothing Dynamite before Double or Nothing, potentially in front of exactly the same audience that will watch Double or Nothing live?
Surely not. I think that would be asking a lot of the audience not to tweet spoilers and generally react differently once they saw Double or Nothing play out. No, I feel like maybe they're either going to do... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're not going to do that Wednesdays. I don't know. I'll have to check what the schedule is like for American sports around then. I don't know.
The issue they have is, and Dave says this as well in on Wrestling Observer Radio, that there's issues with some of the ticket sales and they're struggling on a Wednesday. Dave says, I looked at ticket sales and nobody's buying tickets to this show on Wednesday. Everybody's waiting for May the 30th as the next big one.
Yeah.
And you think about it, that's not a knock on what AEW has been doing, but it's more of a logistical thing, because if you're having big shows every week or every other week, it's going to be a tough sell to get people to keep coming back. So Dave gives an example here. He says, let's say you're traveling from 3 hours away and you're going to go to a big show. You're going to Blood or Guts, right? You're going to Blood and Guts.
Mistletoe and Wine.
Sorry, You're going to Mistletoe and Wine. You're going to go to the pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, for sure. You're not going to go to this coming Wednesdays. It's too many trips. So this is going to be a tough one as far as ticket sales go. And that's a really valid point. I think that if they're touring, then yeah, you're going to get different audiences coming in at different times, because when the wrestling's in town, they're going to want to see it. But if you lived like 3 or 4 hours away from Daly's place, chances are you'd go, I want to go see Blood and Guts. I want to see Double or Nothing. I can't afford to go every week, so I might just miss this coming Wednesday, which is probably why they're struggling to sell it.
Yeah.
Which might explain why they're taping it as like a whole weekend thing, with a Dynamite on the Friday, a Fan Fest on the Saturday, and Double or Nothing on the Sunday. But Jack, keep us updated on that one. Keep us right on that one.
Oh, I will do. But I believe that's all. I believe that's all is as what it seems so far. It's just that Wednesday that I'm worried about. The Wednesday that I'm curious about before Double or Nothing. Yeah,
taping out of order might be quite an unusual experience. Looking back to the WWE side of things, a brand new episode of the Broken Skull Sessions is coming up, and the next guest is going to be The Godfather. It's going to be on the WWE Network. I'm going to guess after WrestleMania Backlash. Normally they do them the night after. That's not been confirmed yet. Now this I'm intrigued by, Jack, because do you remember when The Godfather went into the Hall of Fame?
Okay.
And it was the APA inducting him, and all the brilliant road stories they couldn't tell.
Oh.
So they're now doing a Broken Skull Sessions where tell us all your stories. It's going to be about 4 minutes long, in it, if they can't tell any of the stories.
I'd quite like to. This sounds so wrestling nerd of me, but I'd like to know his in-ring stories. I want to know about why he was late to the ring at the end of WrestleMania 8. I want to know why, as Papa Shango, of course, not as the Godfather. And I want to know why. I can't think of any more. What Right to Censor was like. You know?
What was it like being in the Right to Censor?
What's Bill Buchanan like in real life?
He looks like he smells nice.
Yeah.
We'll find out on the Broken Skull Sessions very soon. Talking of people returning, John Cena has been causing more shenanigans on his Instagram page. So they briefly mentioned this on the news this weekend here at Cultaholic. But what's he been saying, Jack? What's been going on?
There's been a bit of an update as well. We all know that John Cena likes to be a naughty, cheeky boy on his Instagram and basically use it to tease things or use it for red herrings and that sort of thing. So he's done two things. The one they mentioned on the weekend was just a big WWE logo on his Instagram without context, always without context. And then he's done a bit of an update since then, because 14 hours ago at the time of recording, he also shared, like a keep calm and carry on format, but it said, keep calm, it's almost time. Whoa. Could a return be on the horizon, Tom? And when do you think it might be, if it is true?
Oh, now... I mean, SummerSlam's coming up. SummerSlam's coming up, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were maybe he might put an appearance in at SummerSlam back in front of a live crowd.
Maybe.
That could be what it is.
It's the next big one. Yeah.
You know, keep calm, carry on. Is that very much a British thing? The keep calm, carry on logo.
I think that it's since become a bit more universal. But I think it was like a wartime thing, wasn't it? It was the if everything's going wrong, just keep calm and carry on.
I just wondered whether John Cena was actually teasing SummerSlam in Wembley.
No.
Do it. And finally, from SummerSlam in Wembley to SmackDown in the Thunderdome, where everything is at the moment. And we saw a return over the weekend of the other Uso, who hasn't been knocking around as of late. The Usos reunited, and it feels so good. What are the plans going forward for the Usos, Jack?
Well, that's right. Jimmy Uso made his return, and it's caused a bit of tension in the main event scene with him defying Roman Reigns and Jay being like, "No, come on, man! If we just all play ball, then we can win the tag team titles.
We can all eat at the table."
Yes, we can all eat at the table.
We haven't got to sit on the emergency chairs on the bar.
Yeah,
next to the kettle.
But I think when they were actually talking at one stage, the tag team titles were mentioned, and WrestlingNews.co have been told that apparently the next several months are mapped out for Reigns and the faction, and the plan is indeed for Jimmy and Jay to win the SmackDown tag team titles in the coming months from a babyface team in the coming months, which would imply that the Dirty Dogs will be losing their belt at some point, possibly to the Street Profits in the very near future. Who knows?
Are they not scheduled to face the Mysterio family at WrestleMania Backlash?
Is that who they've got? Honestly, I've been saying on the podcast for a few weeks now that the Mysterios are like mini Hulk Hogans in that division. They don't lose. They just don't lose.
I know Ray did an interview recently where he talked about the pressure that is on him for him and his son to become the first father-son tag team champions in WWE. So, I mean, they're ramping up the fact that they might actually do that. And then you can imagine the Usos just playing absolute spoiler naughty boys and taking the belts from them the first chance they get. That'd be great. I'm super down for that. So
what happened to the Street Profits? Did they just never...
where have all the Street Profits gone?
Yeah, they were right in the mix, and then something happened.
They'll be back. They'll be back in the mix. They'll be back. Don't worry about it. And we'll be back with more news later on. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.